step, and then This is Kung Fu Golf Chamber 15, called sway, which means the sway of the back leg. We remind everyone in Kung Fu Golf that our mission is to take what people think is very complicated, learning golf, and showing them that it's actually quite easy if it's broken down into its component parts. And golf should be taught as a discipline, like learning to play the piano, for example, not like a sport, like baseball or soccer, and that's where most people go astray. All of our videos are very short and to the point. You cannot go to the next chamber, of course, until this one is mastered. And at this point, it's becoming more physical, meaning the physicality of the chamber needs to be mastered before you can move on, not just understanding the principle. This one's easy to understand, but it takes a while to make sure you're mastering it. Sway means basically is the weight moving outside the right knee. In the backswing, a lot of amateurs, they will collapse the knee back to that, even to that degree, which is ridiculous. If the weight goes back even an inch, your golf swing is completely ruined for the most part. It should not, the knee should not slide right. The setup is, you take your setup, lock in the back leg, put it in a bronze cast, completely in a cast, and turn on it. In fact, at the top of the backswing, the back leg actually starts to lean forward a bit. It's the back leg of a tripod where you would hold a camera. The back leg of a tripod never bends out. Problem is, you may go to the range and think you're doing this properly and you're not. You need to have a camera on you, or you need to have someone watch you, most likely, to complete this chamber. You might not think you're swaying, and someone might say, your knee's moving out an inch, inch and a half on every swing. Or at the top of the swing, you bow it out a bit. It's very hard to determine on your own if you're doing it, but it absolutely is essential to everything moving forward. Now, you may be a rhythm golfer, not a rigid golfer. You may like a little bit of sway, and that's fine. If you want to do that, you just widen your stance a little bit. So you still can kind of move back off the ball without collapsing the right knee. You might not need that, and you might have more of a narrow stance. Lock the back leg. Lock it in and turn on it. In fact, at the top, it leans in a bit. It never gets outside. That principle is absolutely key. Master it, and you can move on. One of the ways you can try to work on not swaying your weight outside the back knee, if you are by yourself and you don't have access to a friend or a video camera, is the analogy that we use in the Kung Fu Golf Manual. Assume that your Sifu, your Kung Fu Golf instructor, when you're in your setup, is holding a knife right to the inside of the back knee. So if you sway, here's the instructor holding a knife right on the knee. So if you sway, it will draw blood. Put that image in your mind and hit golf balls. It's also a tremendous cure. If you find that you chunk a lot and you throw a lot of mud up and you hit behind the ball, chunk, 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 which is the worst thing that can happen in golf, when you really concentrate on locking that in and not letting your weight get outside, it's almost impossible to chunk. It's a quick